Hello and welcome back to VGC Guides, the show where I break down how to use the new Paldean Pokemon so you don't have to. I'm Zachu and I upload Pokemon Scarlet and Violet content almost daily, so if that's something you're into, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribed. I'm trying to reach 100 subs by the end of the year and I've seen a lot of growth in the few weeks I've been posting. Now, today we're going to talk about the Pokemon that has been terrorizing VGC players for the last couple of weeks. A Pokemon so strong that when team building you have to ask yourself, how am I beating this guy? And a Pokemon so strong that even if you ask yourself how you're going to beat it, you can still find yourself losing to it. I'm of course talking about the Minecraft Salt guy itself, Garganacl. So let's break down exactly what makes this block of salt so strong. Alright, so first things first, I love everything about this Pokemon. I love the NaCl reference in its name. I love how they actually had that in Nacli, Knucklestack, and Garganacl, or Garganacl, however you want to pronounce it. I love its little tiny head surrounded by basically like pyramids of salt. I thought it was really funny. When I saw this Pokemon in my playthrough as a little like couple cubes of salt hopping around in the overworld, I thought that was hilarious. Looked up its evolutions and I'm just like, I'm using this thing. And it was actually really great in my playthrough, so that was cool. So let's talk about this thing's typing, right? Pure rock type. Now, offensively, rock has been very strong, right? Rock Slide has been one of the most spammable moves in all of VGC. Excuse me. Yeah, we're good. One of the most spammable moves in VGC has been Rock Slide, and provided you can hit your attacks, rock type moves are generally pretty great. You hit all but two types for at least neutral. I think the two types that resist you are like Steel and Fighting. Yeah, should be Steel and Fighting. And then you hit four types for super effective. You hit Fire, Ice, Flying, and Bug for super effective, and then again, everything else you hit neutral. Now, defensively, Rock has never been as great as a defensive type. It kind of makes up for it in the fact that most Rock types are pretty bulky, so that you can even take super effective hits from your weaknesses, but being weak to 5 types in Water and Grass, Ground, Steel, and Fighting has generally not been that great. Now, in this generation specifically, having a lot of weaknesses isn't much of a hindrance. Like, yes, it's still a hindrance, but it's less important now because you can always just terrestrialize into a type that has common resistances or just less weaknesses in general, like Terra Water, right? So, now let's talk about this thing's abilities, right? All 3 of its abilities are kind of useful. I think the ability you'll see the least is like Sturdy, just because this thing is like already naturally pretty bulky, and we'll talk about its bulk in a minute. This thing is already like quite bulky, so you'll never really see it being O-code unless it's by something that's already boosted. Next is Clear Body, which is good, but I think Clear Body are kind of a nerf as an ability this generation just because of the Clear Amulet item, which basically just is Clear Body but an item. The ability that you see almost 100% of the time on this Pokemon is Purifying Salt. This Pokemon's Pure Salt protects it from status conditions and has the damage taken from Ghost type moves. Now, being protected from status conditions is already huge. Excuse me. Being protected from status conditions is already quite huge, right? You can't burn this thing because it attacks on the physical side. You can't put it to sleep. You can't freeze it from like Ice Beam spam. So it's actually a really great type, or a really great ability, right? It's like they took they took one of the effects from Misty Terrain and said, you know what, this is an ability now, and went with it. And then taking half damage from Ghost types is also pretty big. It was a lot bigger when Fluttermane was running around everywhere, but even with like Annihilate and like Shadow Ball Gholdengo, it's still quite impactful, right? So, moving on to this thing's stats, right? Because I said we'd talk about that. Alright. So 100 HP, 130 defense, 90 special defense. Now 100 HP, it's not on like the upper end of tanks. However, that's a lot of HP, right? Like I've seen Pokemon with less HP continue to be bulky, even without investment. I've seen Pokemon with more HP be worse tanks, right? Next is 130 defense. Now 130 defense is quite big. If we look on Showdown and order it by defense, we see like 130 defense is shared by Glastrier. Like physical defense, you match Glastrier 1 for 1. 100 HP to 100 HP, 130 defense to 130 defense. Glastrier has 20 more base special defense than you do, but if you were really dedicated, you could even out special defense Glastrier and run this thing on sand. either with Tyranitar, or is Hippowdon in the game? Yeah, Hippowdon's in the game. With Tyranitar or Hippowdon, or just run Sand yourself, or slap an Assault Vest on it. You get the point. Like, you can make up for this thing special defense, and give it more special defense. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because this is relevant, is Ferrothorn. We all remember Ferrothorn as like a Pokemon that could get +6 defense through Iron Defense, and either A, body press sweep your entire team, or just outstall you because you can't damage it. And Ferrothorn had 74 HP, 131 physical defense. So 1-for-1, you actually out-defense Ferrothorn on the physical side. Again, the special side you don't, but you can make up for it. Well, the special side you might. I'm not sure how the HP special defense interaction work out. I haven't read calcs. So, that's Garganacl's defense is it's actually like quite good, right? Now 100 attack isn't amazing. Like, we've covered Pokemon with higher attack, Garganacl and... Not Garganacl, that's Pokemon we're talking about now. Excalibur and King Gambit have higher physical attacks than this Pokemon, but 100 attack, like, you can still make it work if you have moves with like decent base power, right? On the special attack side, you're never going to be using its special attack, it's atrocious. Also, there's no real reason to use special moves on this Pokemon. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is its speed, right? 35 speed is really good for Trick Room. If you remember from the Arboliva video, Arboliva was 39 speed, and that Pokemon is already good under Trick Room. If you haven't watched the Arboliva video, I would 100% recommend checking it out. It was actually, Arboliva is a very surprisingly good Pokemon. It caught me by surprise. So 35 speed is really great for Trick Room. You can make this thing move very fast under Trick Room. But even like outside of Trick Room, this thing has like really insane bulk anyways, so that 35 speed isn't too much of an issue. So, now in past episodes of VGC Guides, I have kind of gone through its moveset on Cerebi and talked about some notable moves. However, what I ended up finding out is that most of the moves we would talk about running through the Cerebi page, we would end up talking about when I go over the potential sets for the Pokemon anyways. So we'll just be skipping that, and if there's anything notable in the move pool that I don't cover while going over sets, I'll cover that now. Unfortunately, everything I can cover in this move pool, I can cover in various sets. Also, so I got a new ring. It's right here. You can't really see it, but I got a new ring. And like, it's cool, but my fingers are like weirdly sized, and because it's like a midpoint between like a 0.5 of a size, and so I ordered the ring size and it was too big, and then I had it shrunk down by like half a size. I don't know my ring size off the top of my head, but I had it shrunk down by like half a size, and it was too tight. And so I'm just kind of in this weird position where, like, depending on like how warm or cold I am, the ring is either on the verge of falling off or uncomfortably tight, and I have to move it to a different finger. So yeah, anyways, this Pokemon sets. The first set I want to talk about is, like, this is the most common set, just a straight endgame wall. You start setting this thing up either in the endgame or next to a Pokemon that's boosted, or just at the very beginning of the game, and it's very hard to deal with. You run leftovers for passive recovery, purifying salt so you can't status hit and you resist ghost, or yeah, you basically resist ghost. Salt cure because the residual damage is very strong. Even like an 8th per turn on every other type is really great. And then going a quarter on steel or water is also really good. You have iron defense to boost this thing's physical defense and make this thing just an unkillable physical wall. Body press for damage and recover to get that HP back. Now, this thing, like, for the most part, runs 2 Terra types. 2 of the really common ones right now are water and grass. You run grass because you're able to counter your grass and water weakness. This allows you to beat the Meowscarada. Meowscarada is actually a really common answer to this Pokemon because it can crit through the iron defense buffs. So going Terra Grass allows you to beat the Meowscarada check. It also allows you to beat Dondozo. Yeah, it allows you to beat Dondozo. Terra Water is also something that's ran just because it has very few weaknesses. If you're not worried about Meowscarada on your team, so you've got like a fire type and an ice type and something with like flying type coverage or even bug type coverage or whatever, and you're not worried about Meowscarada at all, you can run Terra Water. In general, I think Terra Water is just a little bit worse than the Terra Grass one because in a Garganacl mirror, the Terra Water one will always lose to the Terra Grass one just because of Salt Cure doing 1/4 the steels and water types. The next set I want to talk about, and this set has been picking up in popularity, it's the same item, same ability, same moveset, same EVs. but it's Terra Ghost. And the reason Terra Ghost is important is because, first of all, you're not weak to Ghost, so you're only weak to Dark type moves. You're like, because of your ability, you're not actually weak to Ghost. You take neutral from Ghost, so you're only weak to you're only actually weak to Dark, right? But the really important part of running Terra Ghost is against other Garganacl that are running this set. You get into this thing where if it's Garganacl versus Garganacl, the Terra Ghost Garganacl will win the fight 10 times out of 10, unless it's already at a really low HP when the other Garganacl comes in, right? Even then, probably not. The reason being is because against the standard Garganacl set, its only real damaging move is Body Press, because Salt Cure can be mitigated with recovering leftovers. Being Ghost type means you are now immune to Body Press, and you win the 1v1 against other Garganacls. If I were to run Garganacl, I would be running Terra Ghost myself. I think it's a really great Terra type on this mon. Having one weakness is actually crazy, like of all the Terra types you can be. Besides normal and electric, obviously, but the problem with normal electric is you retain a common weakness of fighting and you retain like a common weakness of fighting if you go normal and ground if you go electric, whereas going Terra Ghost, you have one weakness and it's not a weakness that you already have. So I think the Terra Ghost set is really strong. I see this one picking up a lot. Again, if I were to use Garganacl in a team, I would run Terra Ghost. Oh, I'm actually chilling. Okay. The next set is a very uncommon set. I don't think it's very good myself, because it's very hard to get actual mileage out of this, but it's the Tatsugiri Dondozo Enabler set. Basically, you have Sturdy, so you can't be O-Code. You could run Clear Body or Purifying Salt in this one. Like, you could still technically do this. You're on Weakness Policy, so if you get hit with a super effective move, which you most likely will, you get double attack, and then you have Explosion. The idea is that you protect your Tatsugiri, you take the super effective hit on Garganacl, or you endure Tatsugiri if you're running the Endure Toxic Orb set. But then you explode right beside it, and then you do like a really big burst of damage to the opposing Pokemon. You have Protect, Salt Cure, and Body Press, right? The idea is that you can get hit with a super effective move, you blow up in their face with max attack. You're probably picking up a KO here against even bulkier Pokemon that don't resist you. Against frail Pokemon, you would potentially even KO with just Explosion unboosted. You have Protect in case you get outlet or out of position. You have Salt Cure. Again, you still have Salt Cure and Body Press on this set just in case you'll get like outlet into like a Ghost type and a Steel type or something like that. Like, if you pull up and they lead like Goldango and what's another good Steel type? What's a good Steel type we have right now? That's not Goldango, I guess is the point. So if you pull up and you get led into like Scizor Goldango or Scizor Kingambit or whatever, or Goldango Kingambit, your Explosion is going to have like a lot of your Explosion won't have, this is the wrong set. Your Explosion won't have a lot of value, and so you can still like Salt Cure, Body Press there. And again, this set is just pretty much to enable Tatsugiri Dondozo. If you get mileage out of your Explosion, it's a very good set. If you don't get mileage out of your Explosion and you pick up 0 KOs with Explosion and are now stuck in a 3v2, it's a little less good, right? Or sorry, a 3v4. However, when you get mileage and you get stuck into a 3v2, it becomes a very good set, right? So it's just depending on it all depends on whether you can get mileage out of your Explosion. The next set to talk about is just like a all-out support, like a pure support set, basically. You're on Leftovers because the passive HP recovery is good. Purifying Salts is pretty much the only ability you will ever see on this mon. If you ever wanted your stats to not be lowered, you wouldn't run Clear Body because of the opportunity cost of not running Purifying Salt. You would just slap a Clear Amulet on it. But in general, I think Leftovers is the infinitely, like Leftovers, Purifying Salt is just a better set. Because it's a pure support set, you don't have a lot of damaging move. You have Salt Cure to do the residual damage. You have Wide Guard because spread moves are very common in this format. Dazzling Gleam from Pokemon is really good. Hyper Voice from Sylveon is good. Earthquake from Dragonite and Garchomp. Rock Slide from Garchomp is really good. I'd probably said make it rain from Goldango, but if I didn't, make it rain from Goldango. So Wide Guard has a lot of use in this format, right? Next, you have Helping Hand because the 50% burst damage from a Pokemon that would normally not be doing anything. That turn is also really good. And and then recover just to keep yourself at a lot of HP, right? Keep yourself healthy. I don't see this set seeing a lot of usage. I can see somebody actually using this set. Just imagine like you lead both of your Garganacl counters, it clicks Helping Hand, and then its partner Pokemon just obliterates both your Pokemon, right? It'd be kind of funny. But like I said, I don't see this set being as good as, say, like the Terra Ghost defensive wall set, just because it's a bit harder to use. It doesn't do anything on its own, and because it's entirely supportive, it doesn't do anything on its own. You can just kind of like target around it, and it won't do anything. The last set I want to talk about, and probably like not the worst set necessarily, I think this was objectively the worst set. It was a very uncommon set, but you could use it as like an all-out attacker set, right? Now this set, you can run like a lot of different things. You could tech different items onto this set. You could do Clear Amulet, you could do Assault Vest to make up for your lack of special defense, you could run Life Orb, you could run White Herb on this set as well, but like I don't really see why you would run White Herb when you can run Clear Amulet. Maybe if Clear Amulet is taking on a different Pokemon, you could run White Herb. But in general, like I think Clear Amulet Purifying Salt is really great for an offensive set. You can't status it, and you can't lower its stats. You run Protect on this. If you're not running Assault Vest, you tech on a different move. You run Rock Slide, you run Earthquake, you run Hammer Arm. Did I say Choice Band? You could run Choice Band on the set if you wanted to as well. But then like you could tech realistically a bunch of different moves onto the set. If you're running like a choice item set, you could tech like let's just go down the list of things you could tech on. You could still tech on Body Press on this set. You could tech Brick Break on this set if you're worried about screens. You could tech on Explosion to this set. Choice Band Explosion could do some damage. I don't recommend this, but you could. You could tech on Heavy Slam. You could tech on like the Elemental Punches. Iron Head if you want more consistent damage than Heavy Slam, though I think this Pokemon is heavy enough to make Heavy Slam have like good value every time anyways. You got obviously Rock Slide, you got Stomping Tantrum, you could do Earthquake too. I'd probably set Earthquake. Oh, it's already on the set. You can do Stone Edge if you like to live life on the edge. Even Terra Blast, Terra to a different type. Zen Headbutt, I don't recommend it, but you could. If you're not running Choice Band, even if you're still just running like the Clear Amulet set, I have to actually delete that. The Clear Amulet set, you could even still tech on like Wide Guard. Where'd it go? And like on this set, you can like with Garganacl, the thing is you can always run Salt Cure. I don't know why it's not there, but you can always run Salt Cure on this one, and it will always have value. So like the offensive set, it has a lot of versatility in the moves it can run. However, with your low attack stat, like you'll get a lot more use out of the Iron Defense Body Press set than you will like the all-out attacking set. But you could just run the all-out attacking set with Clear Amulet Purifying Salt and just do like a lot of damage that your opponent isn't expecting you to do. So, general closing thoughts on the Pokemon. As we've seen, like in this breakdown and just in VGC matches in general, either the matches you've played or the matches you've watched, it's very strong. It's a very strong Pokemon. Like you have to take this thing into consideration when you're team building. The Terra Water set I do think is countered by Meowscarada, which is why I think the Terra Grass or Terra Ghost is a better set. I think the Terra Ghost is a very strong adaptation that I think a lot of Garganacl will run in the future, just because it does beat other Garganacl. Like I said, it's mostly defensive Pokemon. Salt Cure, Iron Defense, Body Press, Recover is the strongest set we have. However, you know, you could definitely run this thing like support or offensive. However, like I said, the defensive set is probably the best set. So yeah, that's all I got today. I'm thinking about running a different series where I talk about some of the new items. So if hearing me talk about like the new items is something you're interested in, like I talk about Clear Amulet a lot here. So if videos on the new items is something you're interested in, I will certainly look into doing that. Other than that, that's about all I've got. So have a good rest of your day, your night, evening, whatever time it is for you, and peace.